You can buy a Gulfstream private jet for about $55 million, or you can spend that exact same amount on a single wristwatch. When the price of a timepiece rivals aviation hardware, you have to ask, is putting tens of millions into a watch a legitimate strategy to diversify extreme wealth, or is it simply an incredibly expensive way to show off? At this tier of the market, watches stop being tools that tell the time. They behave as highly portable, entirely unregulated alternative assets. This chart compares standard S&P 500 returns against the auction price appreciation of a single pocket watch, the Patek Philippe Henry Graves. Between 1999 and 2014, its value jumped from $11 to $24 million, significantly outpacing standard inflation over that same 15-year window. Mechanical complexity, and finally, historical provenance. Recognizing which of those three factors is at play separates the buyers looking for temporary status from the collectors quietly securing generational wealth. The most obvious driver of a watch's valuation is brute force material wealth. In this category, mechanical engineering takes a back seat to the raw weight of rare gemstones. That $55 million price tag we mentioned earlier belongs to the Graff Hallucination. Its entire valuation stems from 110 carats of extremely rare, highly graded, fancy-colored diamonds packed tightly into a platinum bracelet. The logistical effort required to source this much raw material is massive. Hublot's $5 million Big Bang watch carries 1,280 diamonds. It took their team over a full year just to locate the stones and transport them to headquarters. The buyers for these specific pieces are almost exclusively high-net-worth individuals looking for high-visibility purchases. Beyoncé Knowles famously dropped $5 million on that exact Hublot purely as a 43rd birthday gift for her husband, Jay-Z. It is a massive, sudden capital outlay designed for a personal, public statement. This graph illustrates the financial opportunity cost of that decision, contrasting a depreciating luxury good against a steadily climbing line that represents a standard 7% yield on a $5 million investment. Placed in a decent portfolio, that initial $5 million generates $350,000 in annual interest. The diamond-heavy watch, conversely, suffers massive depreciation the second it leaves the boutique window. Highly jeweled pieces rarely appreciate beyond the raw commodity value of their stones. When it comes time to liquidate, they are notoriously difficult to sell on the secondary market. Material-driven watches act as extreme Veblen goods. They execute their role as public status signals perfectly, but mathematically, they represent remarkably poor financial stewardship compared to standard index funds. Moving away from shiny stones, the second major valuation driver relies purely on obsessive engineering, extreme horological complexity. In watchmaking, a complication is the technical term for any function a piece can perform beyond simply telling the current time. The absolute pinnacle of this category is the Vacheron Constantin reference 57260. A dedicated team of 3 master watchmakers spent over 8 years designing and building it from scratch. They managed to physically pack 2,800 microscopic components and 57 distinct complications tightly inside a single 18-karat white gold case. This level of extreme research and development translates directly to the secondary market. A private buyer comfortably paid $8 million for this specific piece of engineering. The clear trade-off here is that the value is almost entirely intangible. The craftsmanship commands deep respect from horology purists, but it is completely invisible to the general public. Because the buyer pool is so specialized, ultra-complicated pieces are terrible vehicles for a quick flip. But if your goal is to establish a serious legacy within elite collecting circles, they are incredibly strong assets to hold. The third and historically most lucrative segment of extreme horology is driven entirely by provenance and manufacturing anomalies. In the auction room, counterintuitive details generate massive premiums. Take the Patek Philippe reference 1518. A specific 1518 reached an $11 million auction price because Patek Philippe used common stainless steel for the case, instead of the traditional rose or yellow gold. Patek almost exclusively manufactured luxury pieces in yellow or rose gold. The fact that they only ever produced 4 steel versions created an extreme bottleneck in supply, driving the valuation strictly through scarcity. Other pieces require no modern branding to command 8-figure prices. They derive value from sheer historical weight. Banker Henry Graves commissioned this pocket watch in 1933, creating a permanent historical artifact with a price reflecting its unique origin. The ultimate example of historical provenance is the Breguet Marie Antoinette, commissioned in 1782 by an alleged lover of the French queen. It took 44 years to finish, surviving execution and museum theft, valuing it at $30 million. True, compounding financial appreciation in horology isn't built on an assembly line. It is forged by time, strict rarity, and aggressive auction house bidding wars over artifacts that can never be recreated. This quadrant chart organizes these drivers by plotting their long-term appreciation potential against their effectiveness as status signals. On the bottom right, we find the brute force material watches, your Graffs and Hublots. They rank extremely high for signal, but low for long-term appreciation. Conversely, in the top left, the historical anomalies, like the steel Patek 1518 and the Graves pocket watch, sit firmly as low-signal, high-appreciation assets. If your priority is status consumption, gem-encrusted pieces provide unmatched immediate public visibility, but you have to accept that they are inefficient traps for your capital. If your priority is wealth preservation, historical anomalies and extreme complications are horology's actual blue-chip assets. You sacrifice the public flash, but secure proven, inflation-beating growth. The price tag on a hyper-luxury watch tells you exactly what it costs to acquire, but understanding its underlying valuation driver tells you what it is actually worth. When it comes to preserving extreme wealth, the most valuable assets on Earth are almost always found in strict historical scarcity, not in how brightly they reflect the light.